Hey there folks, thank you for joining me for another Let's Look At video. Today I've got something nice for you, as always, but this is particularly nice. If you have not heard of the great collection of books by Juan Diaz Canales and Juanjo Guarnido, the uh, the ever so famous Blacksad, the anthropomorphic detective here, the cat detective. This comic book originally hailed from Europe, intended for French and Spanish markets, and it was just too good for those shelves, and it had to find its way over here into English translation. And I'm so glad it did. This was about 20 years ago now, as this book was published in 2003. This book being the first of many to come, which is called Somewhere Within the Shadows. There's a French title for it that I'm not going to pronounce because I don't want to butcher the beautiful French language. So yes, originally intended for a French market, then translated into Spanish, and then translated into English, brought overseas here to the Americas, and enjoyed by many of my illustration and animation brethren. So in animation school, back when this book came out, I was in animation school. This came out in 2003. I would have been in school learning about this book in about 2005. Obviously, I'm dealing with animating, simplified cartoony characters, right? All drawing from human anatomy. So I'm dealing with human proportions. I'm dealing with the facial expressions. This is all new to me at this time, as I'm young, and I've only been sketching my whole life and copying mostly up until that point. So, back in animation school, we had this little market that would come through maybe 3 times a year. It was called the Animation Roadshow, and it was just these. Oh, it was a book sale, is what it was. Like when you were a little kid, and they used to have the book orders. Well, this was like a book show, and it would come and they'd set up in our cafeteria at our university, and they'd have books from all over the world, sketchbooks from your favorite artists, stuff you couldn't get at Indigo or Chapters at the time, or just your regular bookstore, and they had a lot of comic and graphic novel artwork from other places in the world. So a lot of this stuff was alien to me anyway, even stuff that was produced here in Canada and the United States, because I was so new to it. But my teachers, just trying to drive the principles and fundamentals of animation and storytelling down our throats, they ranted and raved about this book, Blacksad. Could not stop talking about it. So every time the roadshow would come to town, I was always battling for, I'm going to take $100 of my tuition money and spend it on these books as an investment into my future, right? This is before like all this stuff was on the internet and you could just reference anything through Google. So, I would fight to stretch that $100 every time the roadshow would come to town, and you know, basically try to figure out what am I going to spend this $100 on? Am I going to buy this book from this artist, do this, do that? When I was maybe halfway through that first year, I bought Guarnido's artwork and thinking process for this volume of Blacksad, and that was my first good look at his process and what he does, and so he shows all this pencil work, and then his inking after, which he does in brush, and then his final process, which he does in watercolor. You know, and as a young artist, I was very interested in processes across the board, what you can do, just how far you can stretch the medium of illustration, and this is obviously when animation became less appealing to me, and graphic novels and comic books really started to take hold. So um, it wasn't very long before I started investing in the actual hardcover series, you know, and as time went on there, and I mean, I had plenty to focus on. I was in school, but as time went on, I came across all of the volumes in hardcover, and now I have them all on my bookshelf. I was able to come across an old digital copy of Within the Shadows here, somewhere within the shadows. This book I'm about to show you. So sit back, enjoy. You're gonna love this stuff. Like I said, they're anthropomorphic characters, all suited for the type of personality the characters are portraying. So John Blacksad is our main character here, and he's a detective. This is an award-winning book, by the way. Um, on the front cover, you got Stan Lee's quote. You know, like it doesn't get any better than this, basically. Excelsior. So here we go. This is kind of the first indication of the quality of art you're going to get on every page. It's pretty stunning stuff. So, like I said, inked with a brush. Without a doubt, that's inked with a brush. And yeah, absolutely. See, I hate to draw attention to her tuckus there, but you can see the dry brush strokes. Look right here, where they fade. And that's an indication that he's using a brush. And then I see these little cuts here where the line is. I think that's all brush too. I think he's just a master brush worker. And then, like I said, he scans those inks in. Uh, Probably drops all the gray out, so he has a black and white drawing. And then there's a lot of it that's probably faded because it's, you know, that's just what Photoshop does, and then he goes over top of it. Or who knows? Maybe he watercolors right over the originals. I'm gonna go with my first assumption though. So Blacksad, he gets called to a murder scene, and he knows the girl who's been shot. Um, yeah. So, like I was saying, that my instructors, my teachers in college, they were really hard on us to, you know, spend money at that road show. You know, whether it was buying graphic novels, whether it was grabbing other artists' sketchbooks, you know, and just studying up on the design element that goes into all of these big projects that we end up loving and creating, you know, these huge niche markets for. Yeah. I remember the first time I looked at this book. You don't know what to make of it when you have, you know, fresh eyes. You don't know how the hell they come up with this artwork at all. You know, you're at that point you're really looking at like the poses and how he sets up his shots and how he moves the eye from panel to panel. And I mean, this guy's such a master. When he's doing this artwork, us young artists, we're not even aware of how many years he's been at it, and how much focus and time and thought and he's put into this craft. And by the time you're getting this product and you're using it as a tool, you're also like you're using it to enjoy it, because it's a great story and it's fun to read and it's great to look at. But you're also using it as a tool to guide you, you know, so that you can draw better, so that you can do what these guys do better. Storytelling's everything, right? It's like video games. It's got to be a combination of great gameplay, like a lush finish, so the graphics, and then like you know something that makes it unique. That's what all. That's why I love this kind of alternate style of comic books. Eventually I'll try to bring in some actual Marvel and DC superhero comics, and we can admire what goes into those because there's a difference. But I don't know. I guess everything I've shown you so far has been kind of noir, western, detective, gritty. What do they call it? This is like a hard-boiled detective comic, you know. And what did I show you a couple weeks ago? I showed you hard-boiled. It's I guess it's the graphic novel world. But I mean these comics come out in trade or traditionally came out in trade, in issues. Not this one particularly, not Blacksad. The European style is like I think the artists and the writers they work on these books for about a year. They release them. I mean, these are like 50, 60 page long books, and the pages are massive. You'll notice sometimes there's more panels in these pages than like the traditional American style of comic books. Like 5 to 7 is max. What you want to like aim for with pages here in the states. You have those long, like the artists work on 11 by 17 pages, so it's a little more narrow. You may notice these pages are not as narrow; they're a little wider. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How awesome is the artwork, though? I mean, I love this page. I remember looking at this in college when he's looking through the blinds down at the city. I was like, God, that's so good. How are you guys doing with the perspective drawings? You guys liking those videos I've been putting out? I still don't get any comments, but I'm seeing people watching them. I know I got a few buddies that are probably watching them a couple times over. I know they're trying to learn some principles and fundamentals. But like I mean, I'm trying to emulate the way I was taught in college where, you teach people by, feeding them great artwork and reference like the stuff I'm showing you in conjunction with, you know, kind of rerouting the way you thought you knew how to draw by breaking down things with fundamentals. And then, it's like a bounce back between the two. So I'm showing you examples of what stuff should look like, how to use perspective, how to draw, you know, figures and all this, and then I'm teaching you in the lessons, how to break it all down. And that's one thing I want to eventually get into here pretty soon is some breakdown work where we actually take some of these panels and you know I wouldn't use maybe these examples for anatomical studies. The expressions are fantastic, but we're talking about proportions that are anthropomorphic, right? But yeah, and these a lot of these characters are exaggerated in their anatomy, or they're heavily clothed. Here, like Blacksad. Look how good the. Oh man, yeah. I remember like trying to draw folds and jackets and using this stuff as reference, and my stuff never came out right. And it's because I wasn't I wasn't like doing the style right. He uses that watered down ink, I think, to shade in a lot of this stuff. before he goes in with a watercolor over top. I think. And he definitely did that with the gorilla here. Yeah. So that's another thing, you know, as a novice artist, you know, be mindful to like study up on what the artists are using in terms of tools, so that if you're trying to achieve an effect, you can get there quicker. Look at this room shot. What kind of perspective is that, guys? See how it's very suggestive? It doesn't look like, you know, all those points are going exactly back to one point. You can tell that, like, because nothing in your, like, if you look at my room right now and you were to draw perspective points, only certain things in the room would be lining up there to really create the form and illusion, right? But, you know, this shelf right here, this office bench, and then this mirror over here, this vanity, those don't have to be completely in line. They can shift ever so slightly, you know. It's more about really using the perspective to set things in place, because they would be sitting in space ever so slightly, right? So you want to mind all that. But what kind of perspective is this? That was my initial question there. It is 2-point perspective. I'm sure you realize that. See, like this little radio set or TV box here on the stand? That's not in perspective with the rest of the stuff in the room. Like the walls are, the vanity, the bench, maybe the couch, and then everything else is just tilted and offset. You could say this is 1-point perspective. Yeah. Looking down on him. Man. You know what's great is, like, this book was, you know, incredible when it came out. I couldn't stop looking at it. Couldn't stop going to it for reference and, you know, how to set things up. And I mean, I mean, and Disney movies too, you know. I used a lot of Disney movies back in the day uh, for helping me to express my characters better, make them more believable, you know, because we all believe that stuff when we see it, you know. And it's a combination of so many things. You really sit back and you appreciate these artists and what they're able to do, and you need to take as much of that as you can into your own artwork. A lot, like this whole book, we haven't even got to any real action yet, you know. It's a lot of talking, right? A lot of speech bubbles, but he's setting the mood, he's setting the pace. You're getting a good feel of this character. Man, look at that shot. Still gets me to this day. So, that's 3-point perspective right there. If you didn't figure it out already. You can just look at the vertical lines. They're fraying to the right, to the left. You know, like straight up and down is like this corner right here is where that straight up and down is. And then that vanishing point for the third point of perspective is way down off the page. If it's giving it a fray, like look, see those vertical lines right there in those the newel post. I think that's what they're called. You can see they're not straight up and down. And like even this one here is not. Like I think straight up and down is like in there. Looks like it's parallel with the panel, with the edge of the panel. What do you guys know about tangent lines? Has anybody ever heard of tangent lines before? I want to start bringing stuff like this up when we talk about these comics. I want to basically thicken up your your vocabulary, and your mental visual library. You know, there's a lot of things that are very common between really great artwork, really great comics, really great you know, animated movies, beyond just storytelling, beyond just stylistic choices, beyond great illustration. Um, there's more to it. If you don't know what a tangent line is, I I'm gonna definitely teach you guys in depth one day how to avoid them. But tangent lines are basically where you have a scene like this, with this guy's studio here. Scene like this is a great example. You have a lot of business going on, a lot of things placed everywhere. You know, first off, it's composing that scene. Secondly, it's making everything super readable. You know, you got to draw everything in. You gotta line it all properly. So you're dealing with line weight, perspective. You're dealing with the final rendering lines. You're dealing with a bit of shadow rendering here. But like the one thing that's kind of in behind your process the entire time you're drawing all of this and structuring it all, is the avoidance of a tangent of any sort. And if you look at a picture like this one, you can go around the room and see that there are none, almost zero overlaps where a line is concerned. Okay, so which would confuse the eye as to where an object is in the room. Okay, examples are this magazine right here. The fact that its corner flops over the table ever so, just to create a difference in where the magazine is in reference to where the table is. Okay, if the artist chose to line that magazine up with the table, you'd still get the same read, but it may not be as effective. This way it looks a little more interesting. I mean, the table is messy. It hasn't been well kept, you know. So it's telling a story. It's also eluding the eye that the magazine is absolutely 100% on top of the table too. There's no confusion there, okay? And you can look around the room right into this character's head with her hair. It's coming up over that shelf and behind it there. You can see it forms an overlap where that first cupboard is and the trim below it is. Okay. Again, with the character beside her, his head comes up, his ears form an overlap on those checkered tiles on the floor, and his head also forms an overlap where the carpet starts in front of the studio desk there. And just now that you know what a tangent line is, take this video, pause it, look around the room, and see how incredible the artist, see the incredible job the artist has done at avoiding tangent lines at every intersecting point. And he's managed to do it so fluidly. And if you now look at anything else I've shown you in the past, or any other great art in graphic novel work or animation, whatever, design, in illustration, you'll see that it's one of those things that you can't spot because it's on the artist's brain while they're designing everything, while they're sketching everything. That tangent line rule is like burnt into their skull, you know? I think I was about to make a point earlier and then I diverted. This book is the first of, I think, 4 or 5. I think there's 4 more that come after it. And the artwork only gets better. And I don't, the stories only get crazier and busier. So if you think this is good, know that it gets better. I'll leave a link in the description for the English copy if you're all English speaking here. Yeah, I don't really want to. I'm going to leave it on those panels right there with our boy Johnny Cat there smashing Lizard Man in the nose. God. Yeah. All right. It's been enough time. This is Blacksad. All right. An award-winning graphic novel came out in 2003, reproduced by Dark Horse Comics, quoted by Stan Lee as being as good as it gets. Okay. Blacksad. Somewhere within the shadows. All right. I'll link it in the description. I hope you enjoyed it. This is one of the best pieces of storytelling out there, in my opinion. And honestly, the books that follow are equally as good. Nothing but a wealth of knowledge and nothing but pure fun. If you find fun and entertainment from comic books, okay. Thank you for sticking with me. Thanks for watching these videos. I hope you're loving this stuff. I'm I'm trying to get my lingo down. I'm trying to do more research into these books so I have better, stronger points to talk about while we go and look through the art. And please like and comment if you're into this stuff. I want to build a community. I know there's a million different communities online to be a part of, but you know, I'm kind of growing still. I mean, I'll be growing till the day I die. You know, like it's it's the craft. It is what it is. So if you want to grow with me, just hit that subscribe button, and you know it's on. I'm gonna keep posting this stuff. This is how I keep myself motivated. I'm my own boss now, so it's tough. You guys help to motivate me, though. The more of you, the more reason I have to keep doing this. Besides what it does for me. Okay. Thank you for your time. Hit that subscribe button right down below, and make sure you check me out on the other social media platforms: Instagram, Reddit, and Twitch. All at Christian Wolf Art. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.